Our next CEU Online is on Tuesday, June 17th from 12 to 1 p.m. Elizabeth Reinberg, social worker from Memory Home Care Solutions, will be presenting on ethical considerations in dementia care. You can sign up today at hospice.org/events. And now we can welcome this month's speaker, Dr. Chris Fulkerson. Dr. Chris is the founder of Coping for Kids, started in 2007, and co-founder of the nonprofit Coping for Life in 2016 after spending 13 years with a grief center. She has extensive training in grief and trauma, youth mental health needs, suicide prevention, and rural mental health. Chris has presented both nationally and locally in person and online, including a national webinar offering strategies to support grieving rural children through the NACG. Chris volunteers with both experience camps and TAPS to providing clinical care to grieving children and adolescents around the country. She was honored with a 2011 NASW Social Worker of the Year Award, a 2016 YMCA Woman of Distinction Award, and the 2021 Horace Mann Reaching Out and Building Bridges Award by the Illinois Principals Association for her innovative mobile social work programs in rural schools. On a personal level, Chris is a widow raising her 8 children with her amazing now husband, Jason, in Southern Illinois. Beyond her calling to help people, Chris kayaks, travels, raises her small army, and is the main blogger on Coping's Facebook and Instagram accounts. Welcome, Dr. Chris. Thank you so much.
Sounded fantastic. I feel like I can't live up to what we just did. So hopefully this is fun for everybody. All right. My screen share good, Leah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure. Hi, everybody. I am so glad you are here. Let me click an OK there. My name is Dr. Chris. I am a social worker. I work primarily in Clinton County, Illinois. Suicide pre and postvention is one of my passions, primarily because it affects so many of us, and so many people could benefit from knowing more. So today we're going to talk about QPR, which is very simply question, persuade, refer. So question, persuade, refer. Those 3 letters obviously make QPR, and they are going to be what we focus on today. So this is not counseling and this is not treatment. If you're a professional and you're here, fantastic. This is going to be full of lots of reminders and things that we can tell people and share with people, and how we can do suicide prevention work a little better. If you are not a clinician or in the counseling world or even the healthcare world, nurses, a lot of times you guys are doing this work as well. This is very accessible to you. So this is something that the average person can do. And it is something that the average person can understand. You don't need a degree to do it. It is really important that we do these things. So this is not a form of counseling or treatment, but it definitely is a way to offer hope through positive action. Sometimes people ask about, like, if I do this, can I be sued? Can I get in trouble? That kind of thing, just that legality piece. So I just want to say this here. Good Samaritan laws do cover it. And I've been doing this since 2014, but I've been a QPR trainer since 2014. And I've never heard of anybody being sued or, any kind of adverse anything coming out of using QPR. So if anybody was concerned about that, I just wanted to address that. So right away, we're going to talk about suicide, like what it is and what it's not. As a society, we tend to not talk about suicide. It's not an uplifting topic by any means. It's not something that is talked about at parties or get-togethers. And yet it is something that affects all of us in some way, shape, or form. So let's just get like a basic groundwork about suicide. So a lot of times what I hear people say is no one can stop it. It's inevitable. But what we know from the research is that when people are having a mental health crisis, when people are feeling suicidal, if they get help, they're never suicidal again. Now, the issue is there's usually something underlying those suicidal behaviors. So there's something else going on. So we have to make sure that we're addressing what's underneath. So certainly we want to help them in the moment, but a lot of times people need something a little bit longer term. So a lot of times we have like a co-occurring substance use disorder, or we have some kind of a mental health disorder that is not being treated effectively, or there are life situations that are happening that are not being addressed. If those things continue to not be addressed, this person is going to continue to be at risk. And so that's kind of the caveat there is like, yes, we can absolutely do something, but we have to address the whole person, not just the crisis that is right in front of us. So when people say no one can stop a suicide, the answer is, yeah, we really can. There's lots of things that we can do if we know how to do them and if we know that they're necessary. Asking a person about suicide will make them angry or give them the idea. It'll increase their risk. And actually, what we know is that asking someone directly, like, are you going to kill yourself? Is that what you're talking about? Most people feel relieved when somebody asks them that. So if they're feeling that way, they're oftentimes feeling very hopeless, they're feeling very helpless, and they're feeling very alone. And so asking someone just very directly can lower their anxiety. It gives them an opportunity to share what's going on. It gives them that feeling of connection. And it also gives them some hope that someone cares. And so actually it lowers the risk of a suicide attempt. What's my next one? Oh, this is my favorite. Only experts can prevent suicide. I joke all the time that I want a cape. And in fact, at one point in time, some fabulous people, I came to give a talk and they had made me a cape. So I actually have a cape now. I still cannot meet all the needs of our community. So when we started coping back in 2016, there was one mental health provider in Clinton County for every like 9,500 people. One for every 9,500 people. I don't even think I know 9,500 people, let alone being able to help all of those people. Okay. Now, since Coping's inception, we've worked really hard to bring resources to our community. And currently, I'm not positive on these numbers because I didn't look at them right before this, but it's like one for every like 17 or 1,800 people in Clinton County. So there's one expert like me for every like 1,800 people in Clinton County. Again, I don't know about you. I can't help that many people all by myself. So that's the first thing I'm going to say is if we say that only experts can prevent suicide, people are going to keep dying. There's not enough of us, particularly in rural communities like Clinton County. I can tell you that every rural county in southern Illinois is considered a rural mental health provider shortage area, which basically means that we don't have enough providers to meet all the needs. And that's all of them in Southern Illinois. So think about all the people who live in Southern Illinois. And it's not just Clinton County that doesn't have enough people to meet the need. It's every single county doesn't have enough experts to meet that need. So I say that to say that suicide prevention is actually your problem too, and it's your neighbor's problem, and it's your family's problem, and it's everybody who lives here's problem. Because if we rely on just the experts to do it, people are going to keep dying. And in fact, in rural areas, people die at a higher rate than they do in urban areas. People who live in rural communities like you and I are 50% more likely to die by suicide than people who live in urban areas. And that has been consistent for the last 2 decades. And in fact, the rural suicide rate, last time I looked, was increasing at a rate of 46% per year. And the urban rate is increasing at a rate of like 27%. So the rural rate is not only higher already, but it's increasing 20% faster than the urban rate. So, my friends, it is really up to all of us to do this. Because if you leave it up to just the few who are considered experts, we're just not getting ahead of it. It's not working. So I'm so excited that you guys are here so that we can talk about this and what we can actually do. People considering suicide keep their plans to themselves. So I'm going back to the myths now. I'll get off of my my preaching and get back to talking about these myths. So, in fact, what we know is that most suicidal people communicate their intent sometime during the week leading up to their attempt. What we don't know is who they're going to tell. Okay. So we don't know if they're going to tell somebody in their card club. We don't know if they're going to tell somebody they work with. We don't know if they're going to tell somebody they go to school with. We don't know if they're going to tell their parents or their children. And so that means that we need all of the coworkers and the card club members and the people in school and all the parents and children to know QPR so that they know what to do if somebody says something. Those who talk about suicide don't do it. Um, this always comes down to like people will say to me, like, Chris, I'm so tired of hearing them say it. Like, I just want to be like, so go ahead and do it. The problem is that if we do that, at some point, they actually are going to attempt. And that is not an easy thing to come back from a lot of the time. And so I know you're frustrated and I know that they've said it a lot and I know like it's overwhelming and very stressful. Here's what I'm going to say to you. If you can reframe that and we can go back to that first myth that I talked about when I said like, suicide is inevitable. And really what we have to do is not just answer the crisis, but answer that underlying problem and people don't attempt again. So if we come back to that and we can reframe this from like they keep saying they're going to kill themselves, they keep saying they're going to kill themselves, what they are really saying to you is, hey, this is really wrong in my life and I don't know how to fix that. And that to me is much easier to be like, how can I help? What can I do? How can I support you get the help that you need? And so if you can reframe that to help with your own level of frustration and overwhelm and stress, and remind yourself that those who talk about suicide actually do tend to attempt, and we don't want that to happen, then sometimes it makes it easier to have those other conversations and to keep yourself sane. Once a person decides to attempt suicide, there's nothing anyone can do to stop them. So we know that that's not true as well. We know that if, like I said earlier, you ask those questions, people tend to feel relieved. Their anxiety tends to go down. Their feeling of connection tends to go up. Now, the other thing I'm going to tell you is it's really hard to do research and get like facts and numbers on like the suicide process because ultimately if somebody dies by suicide we can't go back and like ask them what happened and what led to this. And so know that like our research is not perfect. What we know from people who attempted suicide and lived is that for most of them, 25% of them, after they decided to attempt suicide, they actually made the attempt 15 minutes later. By the 45-minute mark, 75% of people have attempted. So the minute that decision is made, a lot of times people go ahead and enact it. And so when we move from like just thinking about it and talking about it to actually deciding to do it, there's a very small window, which again, we want to go back up to those who talk about it. We want to take that very seriously because if we move past that and into the yes, I'm going to do this, and then a lot of times there is not a lot of time to do anything. And so if you know or someone says something and you can intervene and do something, you need to do it right away. You need to do it right away. There is no waiting. There is no, I need to think about this. Was that really serious? Like if somebody says something, we take it very seriously because it is preventable. Again, if we can help that person with whatever it is that's not working in their life, a lot of times they never attempt again. And that to me is really huge. Um, I'm not monitoring the chat, but let me know if there's any questions on any of those myths and facts. Nobody say anything. So I'm thinking we're okay. So we're going to talk about ways we can help asking the question. Actually, though, before we do, I want to talk about some like clues and warning signs. And before we get into this, I want to just pull back for a minute. I don't know who's on this call. And in fact, I can't even see your faces while I'm talking to know if this is affecting you in a big way. And so I want you to hear me say, like, these are hard conversations. And sometimes we don't give ourselves the grace we should. So if you have lost someone to suicide, and you didn't know these things, please don't judge what you know now and hold that against who you were then, right? Once we know better, we do better. But until we know better, we just do the best we can. And so if you are someone who's lost someone to suicide, hear me very clearly say that hindsight is horrible and to please give yourself grace and please be kind to yourself. Okay. So I just wanted to say that. Before we talk about things you might see or things you might hear, and we're going to take all of these signs seriously. So some people are really direct, and I'm just going to put all of these up here. Let me go back. Okay. So some people are really direct. Now, I will tell you that they are more likely to say something like this to someone like me than they are to say it to the people in their circle. So it is not unusual, unfortunately, for someone to say, like, I have decided to kill myself, and they say that to me. It's less likely for them to say that to somebody else in their world that they care about. Some of these, it's hard to know, right? I wish I were dead. I can't tell you how many times my children have said that. If such and such doesn't happen, I'll kill myself. So as we go through these, I want you to take a very common sense approach to it. I want you to trust your instincts, trust your gut. So, for example, if my 15-year-old comes home and says, if I don't get to be first chair in band and Bobby doesn't ask me out and I don't know what else. And I don't ace every exam and get 102. I'm going to kill myself. Well, if they don't really enjoy band and they don't really like Bobby and they're not really into grades, I'm not really worried about that, right? But if like band is life and we've had a crush on Bobby for 2 years and their grades like dictate their mood, then I'm going to take that much more seriously. Okay. So like it's almost less the statement because it's the same statement and more like, is that for real? Or is that exaggeration, right? Is that, just my mom being my mom? Or is she like serious that like this is a problem? So these are the kinds of things. And I wish it was a little bit clearer, but I'm going to tell you, just trust your gut. Like we all at times like get those feelings and we're like, ooh, that kind of feels like they mean it. I want you to trust that and really pay attention to that. I feel like for a lot of us, these are more of the statements that people say. I'm tired of my life. My family would be better off without me. Who cares if I'm dead anyway? I just want out. I won't be around much longer. Pretty soon you won't have to worry about me. Like they're not directly saying, hey, I'm going to kill myself, but they're sure saying things that I don't want them thinking. Like I care if you're dead. Your family cares if you're dead. We really do want you around. And so if I hear stuff like this, then I'm going to use QPR. And then I'm going to absolutely be like, hey, what's that mean? Right? We're at least going to have a conversation about it so that I can get an idea, like a better idea of where they're at and make sure that they're okay. And then there's behavioral stuff. So any previous suicide attempt, remember we talked about if what the underlying issues are get addressed, then people don't attempt again. Unfortunately, too often those underlying issues do not get addressed. We meet the needs in the crisis. They start to feel better because they're feeling more connected because people are there. And then some of those supports go away, time goes by, and we're right back to where we started and we attempt again. Acquiring again or stockpiling pills. In my rural communities, this is not a popular conversation. However, I feel like it's really important to say you are more likely to have someone in your house be shot by a self-inflicted wound with a gun than you are to ever have to use it for self-defense to shoot someone else. So I'm not saying you can't have a gun. I am saying that as of 2024, 54% of suicides were completed using a gun. So if you have a gun and you're mentally in a safe space, then by all means, lock it up. Make sure it's locked up. Make sure nobody knows where the key is or what the combination is. It doesn't matter if we teach people how to use guns. It doesn't matter if we teach gun safety. What matters is are they in a mentally safe place? So acquiring a gun, having access to a gun is an issue. Having access to pills, again, if you're not in a mentally safe place or somebody you live with is not in a mentally safe place, those pills need to be in a lockbox. I know it's a hassle to get them out. I understand. I still want people to live. And so, we definitely want to pay attention to that. I talked about co-occurring depression, moodiness, hopelessness, substance use, putting their personal affairs in order. I mean, if we're talking about parents, because I don't know if you guys know this, but one of the highest risk age groups that has the highest rate of dying by suicide is actually folks who are 85 and older. And right behind that is 74 to 85 ish, or maybe it's 75 to 84, but it's that older group. And so, developmentally, it's appropriate for our parents in that 70 plus age range to put their affairs in order. However, if it feels a little wonky, if it feels a little out of the blue, if you're not sure what's going on, if they've got some of that depression stuff going on, I'd be paying attention to that. Okay. Same way with giving away prized possessions, interest, disinterest in religion, that co-occurring substance use or a relapse, lots of emotionality. Again, like with these behavioral clues, it really for me comes down to like, does this feel off? Does this not feel right? Just because like some of the stuff is kind of normal or normal for my people or not so out of the ordinary. And so I don't want you to over respond, but I really don't want you to under respond. So that's why these are on here. Situational clues. So this one is like anything that's a loss, okay? Anything that could be described as a loss. Being fired or expelled, moving, any kind of a breakup or a divorce, the death of someone close to you, particularly if we lose someone to suicide, a lot of times it puts the rest of us at higher risk for whatever reason. So when this stuff happens, and I think I've got a whole nother page of these, and again, I think some of these you can see like how it would be like an older person thing. When I think about rural communities, I want to add a few to these and just give you guys a little bit more information. So one of the biggest threats to in rural communities is actually to our farmers. Farmers have an incredibly high risk of dying by suicide. They have high stress jobs. They tend to be fairly isolated and they have access to lethal means. on the farm. And so a loss or even a perceived or potential loss of the farm, which is part of their identity, which is part of their survival, which is part of their legacy, all things that our farmers tell us are really just crucial to them. Any kind of a threat to that puts them at an increased risk. And so certainly, we want to help them from a financial perspective, but also we want to acknowledge that connection to their land in a different way. And there has been some luck in suicide prevention work, working with farmers and really leveraging that connection to the land. But I do want to bring it up here because it is a loss that is often not thought about, not talked about, but is just really critical and crucial to our farmers, and even like talking to them about like disappointing their ancestors. Like this farm has been in our family for a century, and I'm the one that's going to lose it. When you hear language like that, I want you to pay attention to that because we need our farmers. And there are things that we can do to help them if they are feeling suicidal. And just given rural culture, rural folks, like we're not great at asking for help. We're not, and our farmers are probably some of the worst at asking for help and admitting any kind of an emotional need. So I include that here so that you guys can hear me say that. That loss of financial security, that diagnosis of a serious or terminal illness, I'm going to go back, being fired, loss of a major relationship, death of a spouse, child, or best friend, all of those. When I think about rural communities, I need you to hear me say that midlife folks, so like people my age, in particular males, tend to be at a higher risk and die by suicide at a higher rate compared to people in other parts of their life. So it goes that like 85 over, 74 to 85. Actually, I think it's 75 to 84. I keep saying it wrong. And then our middle-aged folks are who we're seeing really kind of come to this. Okay, before I do that, we just went through things people might say, behaviors we might see, situational things. Again, I'm not in the chat. So, Leah, Maggie, if you guys can help me here, if there's any questions, let me know. I'm not seeing anything. So, I'm guessing we're good.
I don't see anything right now.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we're going to get into like, how do I do this QPR thing? Like, that's great, Chris, now that you've scared me and I don't know what to do. This is terrifying. So no fear. We're going to go through it and we're going to talk about it. How do I ask the question? So remember that we have that really narrow window to talk. And so, or to intervene, excuse me. We have that really narrow window from when somebody decides to actually make an attempt to when they actually do, like less than an hour for the majority of people. So if you get that feeling, if they say one of those things and you get that gut feeling, that instinct that I was talking about earlier, I want you to ask right then. I don't want you to wait. We don't have time. Okay. It's too big of a risk to wait. If the person is reluctant, I want you to be persistent. So I feel like, if I come upon you somewhere and I'm like, hey, how's it going? No matter what you're feeling like, you're going to be like, good, how are you? Right? Because that's the appropriate response to that question. So if I ask somebody like, hey, are you feeling like killing yourself? They're going to be like, no. Like we all know the right answer. And so sometimes we have to be like, I just have this odd feeling like you're just some of the stuff you're saying or some of the stuff that's happened, like it's big and overwhelming, and I can feel your stress, or I can feel your sadness, and like, are you sure you're okay? Like, what can we do? I'm here to help. Talk to them alone in a private setting. So even if you're out in public and you're at a table all by yourself, like the minute you ask that question, that person is going to feel like everybody's looking at them. So if at all possible, we want to talk to them alone. If not possible, we're going to talk to them anyway right now, this minute, even though it's not ideal, because we're going to go back up to that first one, which is
Going to
we don't
Walmart.
have time. Yeah.
Anyway, every time I ask her to go somewhere, I always dread asking her on my days I can't drive.
Hey, Nellie, you're unmuted.
There. I'm sorry. We just had the phone kick off. Mute me.
I don't. Okay, thank you. Okay, that was my intern Nellie. So everybody just know like she's fantastic. And I'm so excited she's here. So we're gonna allow the person we're talking to talk freely. This is one of those times when I'm gonna ask you to grab that phone and we're gonna set it down and we're not gonna pick it up again unless we need to call for help. We're going to, and or if you need to send that quick message of like, hey, can you pick the kids up from school for me? Because I'm in the middle of something and it's super important and I can't get there. So I want you to give them as much time as they need and just allow them to talk. And the quieter you can be and the more you can listen, the better it's going to be. Because nothing you're going to say in that moment is really going to fix it. We just want to get them to a place where they can get help. Okay. So if you say something, you're going to say positive things like, oh my gosh, I feel like we can do something about that. I want to help you. Again, that goes with what I just said. Give yourself plenty of time. Have your resources handy. Back in the day, we had QPR cards. Now everybody carries their phone. And so it's much less of an issue. It's completely appropriate to call 911 if somebody is feeling suicidal, particularly if they won't go with you. Phone numbers 741-741 is the crisis text line. That is still available to whoever needs it. 988 can get you to resources. I will say in our rural communities that has not always been consistent. So I tend to use 741-741. However, sometimes people want to call. So you can try 988 or you can try it now and find out if it's working so that if you ever should need it, if you know a therapist or counselor who can direct you, sometimes having them in your phone, that number is really helpful. We had a suicide line. I'm not sure with all the changes to the VA and whatnot, because the VA ran that even though it was a national line for whomever. I don't know that it's still being staffed. So we're going to skip that number. But have these numbers handy, right? 988, 741, 741. Those would be the two top ones that I would want you to have in your phone. And then, of course, 911. Yes, and how you do it is less important than that you ask the question. But again, we're going to go through this. We're going to talk about how to ask the question. So there are less direct approaches that you can do. Have you been unhappy lately? Okay, like that makes sense to me. Like, or I've noticed you've been unhappy lately. What can I do to help? Um, this series, I have to tell you, since I started presenting QPR, they have always used this series of 3 questions on this slide. And every time I'm like, if somebody asked me this series of questions, and by the time they got to the 3rd one, I would be like, oh my gosh, leave me alone. Like, I can't even. Um, so this is not my way of doing it, which leads me to the next thing I want to say. I may have all kinds of examples that go up on this screen that are not your way of doing it. And that is okay. What I need you to do right now, what question would you ask? Not just like, oh, okay, like she put a bunch of questions up there. Yeah, I'm really worried about the person who is across from me. And I don't know what to do. Like you're gonna Hey, did I lose my connection?
Yes, you're back now, though. I can hear you.
Uh,
Can you hear me?
Hello?
We can hear you.
Am I? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Did I lose you guys or am I still on? I can't. Hey, Leah?
I can hear you.
We can
I
hear
can hear
you.
you.
You didn't press your button.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear me. Good. I got bumped off and like I don't know what happened. So I'm back. Somebody want to cue me as to the last thing you heard? Okay, so just like temporarily. So the did you go to sleep thing, did you guys hear me talk about that? You guys are awesome, by the way. I appreciate this. Okay, what question would you ask? Awesome. Okay, so you guys are thinking about what question you're going to ask. I'm going to minimize this again. And I'm going to keep going because we just lost like 2 minutes with my internet being wonky or whatever. Okay, so there might be a more direct approach. Sometimes you can say when people are as upset as you are right now, or as stressed out, or going through what you're going through, they sometimes wish you were dead. I'm wondering if you're feeling that way too. Again, like there's a difference between do you wish you were dead? Do you wish you could sleep and never wake up? And like, do you want to kill yourself? So just know that, like, if I get a yes to this, I'm not necessarily full on panicking. But I am like, okay, yes to that. Let me ask the next question. Um, you look pretty miserable. Are you thinking about suicide? I probably would say you sound pretty miserable rather than you look pretty miserable. I don't know about you, but that doesn't usually make me feel helpful and better. So I would probably say you sound pretty miserable. I wonder if you're thinking about suicide. And then this is the one that I usually say. But again, like I'm a clinician, I've been a social worker for 20 years now. I'm pretty comfortable asking people this. Are you thinking about killing yourself? It just allows people to answer honestly because I'm not beating around the bush. I'm not being subtle. I'm not trying to, be overly careful about like how I'm saying it. Like I'm just saying it so then they can answer in return. Also, just very honestly, rather than subtly or tiptoeing around it carefully. This is super important. You cannot ask the question. You cannot leave this person alone. You have to take them to somebody who can ask the question. Okay. So if you happen to work up the hallway from me, you could obviously bring them to me and be like, hey, Dr. Chris, help me. That's probably not going to happen for most of you. So think about your best friend, your mom, your cousin, I have no idea, who is really good at having hard conversations. And think about like, who could I bring them to? I really want you to be the one to ask the question because in that moment, they have shared whatever with you that has you thinking that something is going on. We know, again, in rural communities, people don't trust very easily. They don't get vulnerable very easily. So if they picked you, I understand it's stressful and I understand it's hard. But if you can at all ask that question, I need you to ask the question right then and there. If you can't, don't leave them alone. Get them to someone who can. Okay. Things we want to be aware of. They're again like here they're like, do not do it this way. And you might do it this way, right? You're not thinking of killing yourself, are you? Like again, it's a backwards question because it's saying like, I really don't have time for this, but I understand that I need to ask it because Dr. Chris told me to, and I went to that 1 hour seminar with her. But if you ask this question, they're going to say no because that's the right answer to this question. You're not thinking of killing yourself, are you? No. Uh-uh. Right? You wouldn't do anything stupid, would you? Well, gee, since you put it that way, no. Or suicide's a dumb idea. Surely you're not thinking about suicide. Again, like all of these tell the person, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for you. I don't want to deal with this. This would be a stupid conversation to even have. And I don't think that's necessarily what the person asking it is doing. They just don't know how else to ask the question. And again, I want you guys to have an idea in your head already. So if you ask this way, like it's the first thing that pops out of your mouth, because remember, we might be panicking. It's okay. You're going to go, oh my gosh, I did not mean to say it that way. I really do care. I really am hearing things that you're saying. And I'm wondering if you're going to kill yourself. Like for real, I want to help. Okay. So you can come back from these. So this is not like, oh my gosh, I just blew it and everything else. This is just like, okay, like let's try again. Let's do this a little differently. So that is the question part of QPR. Remember when we started, I said you don't have to be a clinician like me. You don't have to be a nurse. You don't have to have degrees. You have to be able to ask a question, and everybody on this call is able to ask a question. So I just want you to think about what that question would be. But that's it. Somebody says something, you get a feeling, you're worried. I need you to ask the question. That's all. That is the Q of QPR. We are a third of the way done. So how to persuade someone to stay alive. So this is the P, like, okay, I asked them, they said yes, now what? We're going to listen and give them your full attention. Again, we're going to put those phones down. We're going to put them on do not disturb. We're going to like get our life situated however we need to. I'm going to be late. I need somebody to pick this up. I'm not going to make it, whatever, so that I can help this person right in front of me who is in crisis. You're going to remember that suicide is not the problem, okay? It's the solution to some other issue that this person has come up with. And so we're going to give them hope. We're going to listen to what they have to say. We're going to connect with them, and we're going to help them. We're going to persuade them to get help. We're not going to judge. Now is not the time to say like, I told you she was no good. I don't know why you married her. Of course you're feeling this way, right? Like you can totally say that in your head. I won't even think poorly of you. It just can't come out of your mouth, especially not at this moment, because it's not helpful. And you know, that last slide, we don't want to say suicide's dumb. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. We don't want to say like that would be stupid or you're weak. Okay. None of those things are helpful in persuading someone to stay alive. They already think that they're dumb and they're weak and they're useless and they've made horrible decisions and they think that none of it is fixable. And so we definitely don't want to feed into that. We want to give them hope in any way that we can. So all of our words are very hopeful. And really just trying to get them to someone, somewhere that they're safe. So we're going to listen, and then we're going to say, okay, I'm going to put all of those up there so I can talk about it at the same time. Like, will you go with me to get help? That's definitely the one that we really want them to choose. Like, come with me and come with me. You're like, where are we going? Well, you're going to go to the emergency room. Okay. You're going to take them to their doctor. If you're rural, a lot of times you can get into your doctor same day. So you're going to take them to your doctor. If, you know, there isn't an emergency room close enough, their doctor isn't close enough, there might be clergy or someone else that they trust. So come with me. Will you let me help you get help? Let me get on your phone and let me call 988 for you. Let's dial or text 741-741 and get the crisis helpline started talking to you. I'm trying to think, let me call 911 for you. Okay. Anything we can do right then. What can we do to keep you safe for now? So like, do you have access to pills? Do you have access to a gun? Do we need to like lock those up? That kind of stuff we can do, but we really want to get this person to somebody. We don't want to do the, will you promise me not to hurt yourself? Because those don't work. The research is super clear that, that in the moment, the person you're talking to means it. But what we're dealing with, this kind of suicidal crisis, is way bigger than any kind of promise that they're going to make you in that moment. And so we really don't do those kind of promises or like contracts. We really want to get them to someone that can help them. So, and just you recognizing that they're in crisis, that they're hurting, that all of these terrible things had happened to them. A lot of times that's enough to get them started on the road to really addressing those issues and getting to where they need to be. That was it. That was P. Like I'm telling you guys, this is so accessible. This is something that any of us can do. I can do it. My parents can do it. My kids can do it. You guys can do it. Like all of us can do this. So we're going to ask the question. We get that feeling something's wrong. We're going to ask the question, are you thinking of killing themselves? If they say yes, we're going to sit down. We're going to listen. And we're going to give them some hope. And we're going to really strive to get them to agree to come with us to go somewhere. Okay, so last one, we're on R. Suicidal people often believe they cannot be helped. So remember I said, hey, can I have your phone so I can call 988 for you, or so we can get 741, the crisis text line started, right? I may have to do that for you because you don't believe that you can be helped. So you may have to take like that active role initially until they're in a better place to do it. So this is what I was talking about. We really want you to take them to someone if at all possible. The best referral involves taking them directly to someone. When I think about rural culture, know who in your community are the go-to people. So in Clinton County, obviously coping would be one of them, right? Like you take them to Dr. Chris, you take them to Beth, you take them to Stephanie, Amanda, Cindy, Sydney, one of us, right? You could totally take them to. You could take them to potentially the school counselor. You could take them to clergy. You can take them to, I don't even know the person at the food pantry. I don't know who your go-to people are in your community, but I bet you do. And so know who those people are and get them there, especially if that hospital is an hour away, especially if their primary care physician is not available. We want to have other people too. And of course, 911 is an option. So getting that commitment from them to accept help, making the arrangements to get that help. So making that doctor's appointment, if they have a social worker or a therapist, calling them and getting them there. Getting them to agree to call 911, that kind of stuff. If they won't do anything and you're pretty sure they're talking about suicide, but they haven't come right out and said it, sometimes the best thing we can do is help them make their home safe, alert the people that they live with, and get that promise for them not to do anything. And I know I said that it's not, we know from the research that it's not effective, but if it's an adult and they haven't come right out and said they're going to kill themselves, there isn't a lot that we can do in that other than try and give them hope and give them information and make their home safe. That's the refer part, which is good because we're almost out of time. So I want to make sure that we get through all of this. So question, persuade, refer. I'm going to ask the question because I got a feeling that they're saying something to me about suicide. So I'm going to ask them. If they say yes, I'm going to persuade them that, I'm going to help them and let's get them to help. And then I'm going to take them actually to that help and connect them to that help. That is what we are going to do. Okay. Any effort you put into this is going to help avert a crisis. All right. So don't hesitate to get involved. Don't hesitate to take the lead. A couple more tips for you. Language. I want you to live. I'm on your side. We'll get through this. That will get through this. I use we language all the time. We are going to figure this out. We'll get you through this. We are going to do this together, right? Life is so much easier when I'm not having to do all the hard things all by myself. I do not ever work with someone who is suicidal by myself. Across the board, I'm working with a psychiatrist, the psychologist, the general practitioner, the clergy, the family, anybody. anybody we can circle up to help this person because suicide is so big. And again, we don't know who they're going to talk to. So we really need that communication. We really need to circle the wagons, get everybody involved. Oh, I already said that. Look at me. I'm like predicting it. And then follow up. If you are the person that they chose to talk to and you feel comfortable with it, let them know that you're still thinking about them. It takes 2 seconds. Send a text message thinking about you. Send them an encouraging meme. Send them, make a phone call. Send them a card. Visit them. Whatever way you can show them kindness and caring is going to make a difference long term. They will remember it. I promise. Oh, there you go. Hope helps prevent suicide. That is the end of my presentation. Any questions? Any questions, guys? Okay.
I don't see any
Comments?
questions in the chat. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chris. Your presentation was so
Okay, so I
valuable.
see
I don't,
Leah, you're muted.
can you hear me? I shouldn't be muted. People are commenting right now, but no questions as of now. They're just saying, great presentation.
Or I just can't hear you.
Can everyone hear me?
Let me see. Would you share that phone number again? 741-741 is the number, or 988. Oh, I can't hear Leah. That is so weird. Okay. I have no idea. Leah, we're on different planes.
I know, I don't know.
Additional training through QPR for first responders. What I would tell you about that would be, you can check the QPR page for sure. And I can tailor this for pretty much anybody. So like I've done it for first responders before. So if you guys wanted that, just reach out to me. I'm trying to see. Somebody asked, what question would you ask? I honestly, 99% of the time say, it sounds like, actually what I say is, I really care about you and I hear what you're saying. And it sounds to me like you're talking about killing yourself. Is that what you're talking about? I'm just really direct. Great question. Reading through. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Heather, for the chestnut number. Everybody see that? 618-877-0316. 24-hour crisis line and mobile outreach. Love that. So, Jessica, how do you get the hospitals to do evaluations and not just discharge them? You don't. If the person goes in and says, nope, I'm not going to do anything, the hospital has to release them, which is why I talked about like getting the house safe for them, and really working with anybody in their circle that you possibly can to keep them safe. But if as an adult they go into the hospital and they say, I'm fine, I'm not going to hurt myself, then they legally have to release them. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. I think I'm done then.
Okay, I know you can't hear me, but thank you so much. For anyone who's needing a CE, please click the link in the chat. I just put it right now at the very bottom. You will not be able to find the link after the Zoom has ended, so please make sure to click it now. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is lgodc@hospice.org. Also, just a reminder that our CE next month is on June 17th from 12 to 1 via Zoom on ethical considerations in dementia care. So feel free to sign up now on hospice.org/events. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.